I should be at work, but instead, I am inexplicably calm and sitting at the kitchen table drinking a cup of freshly brewed coffee. I needed this to calm down. I usually find this a very peaceful practice. I did this regularly when our kids were little. I would get up about an hour earlier than the rest of the household, just to enjoy the quiet. I guess it was something of a passion of mine. I'm Evan Johnson, by the way, happily married for 25 years. More precisely, I was happy a couple of hours ago. We have 4 children, the last of whom left home last year. My wife was depressed by empty nest syndrome, I think that's what she called it. So I advised her to start a hobby. I think she did just that. An hour ago, I didn't know his name. His name was Stallion. At least that's what she kept calling him. "Do it, stud, give it to me." It was strange that the aroma of their favorite coffee, permeating the house, did not interrupt them. Usually, when I made coffee, my wife Audrey would run downstairs before it was even ready. Audrey was very busy anyway, so that might explain why she hadn't smelled the scent yet. Tell me how much better I am than your spineless weakling husband. Oh my God, you're so much better. My old Model 59. Smith & Wesson sits loaded on the red oak kitchen counter next to my mug. I wondered whether to put it on safety and decided to do so. I had to be careful. Well, just in case, but after all, her boyfriend is a cop. How do I know this? Because when I got home early, his uniform and cummerbund were strewn across my living room floor along with all of my wife's clothes, including her black lace crotchless Victoria's Secret panties. She bought them 2 months ago and showed them to me. I immediately started getting excited and told her to try them on, but she cooed, "Boy, these are only for special occasions." I expected these for our 25th wedding anniversary, which came and went without her wearing them. I wonder what could be more special than this. My birthday? No, that was 2 days ago. Now I know. The sounds of the bed, springs creaking, and the headboard hitting the wall continually penetrated my brain. I had a hard time concentrating on what I had to do. I wasn't sure how much time I had, but judging by the noise coming from what used to be my bedroom, which, by the way, I would never enter again, I had plenty of time. I knew this wasn't the first time they were together because, among other things, I heard, "Damn it, baby. We need to find a way to increase our time together to 2 or 3 times a week instead of once in a while." This came from the lips of my loving wife. At least that's what I think she said. How did I end up here in the middle of this nightmare? It was really stupid. I went to work and forgot my briefcase. No, I actually left it in the garage because I put it there to get the cat out from under the hood of my car and forgot about the briefcase. Tabby was our second cat. One cold winter morning, many years ago, I forgot to knock on the hood before starting the car, and that was the end of Clarence, our first cat. There is nothing like the sound a cat makes when it is wrapped in a fan belt, spinning at about 1,000 revolutions per minute. Not to mention all that fur flying around. Clarence wasn't smart enough, and apparently, neither was I. My briefcase wasn't really that important, so I was just going to leave it, but I had to visit a client who drove me straight to the house. Anyway, I turned onto my street and immediately saw a black and white police car parked in front of the entrance. It felt like someone had stabbed me with a knife in my heart. I assumed that something terrible had happened to my devoted wife. I drove my 8-year-old Camry into the driveway, narrowly missing my wife's brand new silver Lexus LS sedan. Her plaster garden gnome wasn't so lucky. I didn't even close the door and ran into the house. That's ultimately how I ended up here drinking coffee. Take me now, Stallion. Do me good. God, I have never felt anything better. It was very unpleasant, and instead of coffee, I really wanted whiskey. But I decided that I still needed a clear head. I have to admit that their passionate cries were very disturbing, and seeing it was even worse. But I had to see it, if only to get the necessary video and audio. Honestly, seeing them having sex in my bed wasn't the most disturbing aspect. The most unpleasant thing was the verbal humiliation that my wife inflicted on me. God, you're so much better than Evan. Give it to me, baby, give it all to me. I know I can handle it all this time. I know I can handle this. Oh, hell yeah. Apparently this really turned on her lover because the whole house began to shake along with the bed, and his swearing and grumbling rose several decibels. Okay. Yeah, he actually had more than me, so excuse me, damn it. If she wanted more, she shouldn't have married me. Let me tell you that it is a shock when your wife cheats with her lover in your marital bed, and yes, they have done it on my side. My wife, holding her breath, rode him cowgirl style and told her lover how much it turned her on. Part of me couldn't believe it all, even after I'd seen and heard enough to convince the jury of what was going on. But my wife was 50 years old, and the idiot she cheated on me with couldn't have been older than 30, and he was in really good shape. It's unlikely that my wife matched him. Sure, I wasn't a macho man either, but couldn't that shithead at least go after someone's wife who was in shape? I don't understand. It seemed to go on forever, but after about 90 minutes it became very quiet. They must have taken a break. Suddenly I heard my wife ask, "Have you made coffee?" There was no response from her boyfriend. I just heard, oh my God, from Audrey, and then a lot of running around, the sound of closet doors and dresser drawers and laundry baskets opening and closing. I assumed they were removing evidence of their date. I heard them coming down the stairs. They both appeared in the kitchen naked, wrapped in sheets. They saw me at that very moment. Audrey sucked in a sharp breath because I was there, and her lover did the same. I'm not sure if his shock was at seeing me or the Smith & Wesson Model 59. He glanced furtively in the direction of his uniform and immediately became desperate. "He's not there, Stallion." "What?" "Your service weapon. Your boss took it with him when he left." Caring guy. He literally began to fade before my eyes, and then I saw his lips tremble. In despair, he fell to his knees, losing the sheet in the process, and began frantically rummaging through the pile on the floor. He took that too. I think he called it your throwing weapon. I'm guessing what upset him the most was the fact that the serial number had been taken off him. Something like 5-7 years for this? Former Officer Stud Johnson's shoulders slumped at the revelation. Like I said, he's a caring guy. We had a nice conversation while you two lovebirds were upstairs doing your thing. Stud quickly looked out the window onto the street. Yes, he also took a patrol car. Your boss said that you provide safety on a construction site. He was going to take your uniform too, but he thought you might need it when you leave here. But where did I stop? Oh yeah, after Sergeant Marks got his video of you both and collected your weapons, he spotted my Smith & Wesson and asked me, "Is this your weapon?" "Yes." "Licensed?" "Yes." "Do you know how to shoot it?" "Yes." "Are you going to shoot one of them?" You know we get angry if civilians shoot someone, even if they deserve it. One of the benefits of our job is that we can shoot people, but you can't. I promised Uncle Pat, Sergeant Marks, that unless the idiot has a third weapon that we don't know about, no one will get shot. Your boss said, "Okay," and headed for the door, saying, "Oh, do me a favor and tell Officer Johnson not to come to the station. We'll call him when we want to talk to him. I've never seen a policeman cry before. It's time to take up your weapon." "You don't have a third gun, do you?" He shook his head negatively. I knew it wasn't because we checked. I was just trying to make my point. I wasn't actually aiming at any of them. I just kind of waved at them and continued with my story. "Perhaps you could call your wife to give you a ride home?" "Probably not. She was too upset about the video I emailed her of you two in my bedroom. It was hard to understand what she was saying, but it was something about her father, the chief of police. And how could you do this to your children? She told me about them. You seem to have a good family, too bad. Despite the current situation, I am really having fun now. It was a bit like the bait had caught a fish, and I was just playing with it a little. I would ask my wife to take you, but her car was confiscated." "What?" Audrey squealed. "The police impounded your car, Audrey, because there were a couple ounces of unaccounted weed in the front seat. Sergeant Marks said they usually just write a ticket if they do anything at all, but he feels like they owe me something for all the trouble the police department has caused me." "Don't worry," he said. "You can probably pick up the car in a few days after they do all their due diligence." Oh my God. Now she doesn't scream anymore. It was more of a sad moan, sort of like a lonely little hound howling at the moon. "Well, officer, I think it's time for you to put on your uniform and leave." He did just that. As soon as he left, my wife found her speech again. "Please, Evan, I love you. It didn't mean anything at all. It was easy. Hobbies? Something like that." "Oh, girl, it's a pity that you didn't tell me about this earlier. I was worried that you loved him and were going to divorce me. Wow, now I feel bad. I guess I really overreacted, didn't I? I mean, you love me and everything." "Of course I love you, Evan. Why do you doubt it?" Until now, she seemed to be in a state of shock, but now she was definitely nervous and was paying close attention to me. "Well, I'm really sorry, but when I thought you didn't love me anymore, I sent the video to our kids. I just wanted them to see who their new dad would be. You may have to wait a bit before calling them. For some reason, they seemed upset. I thought they'd be happy for you. Well, that shows you what I did." "Oh my God, you didn't do it." I simply nodded my head. "I forgot to mention one more thing, but you probably already know about it. Your lover's wife works in the same company as you. I think she mentioned that she works as an executive assistant to the CEO. Don't worry, I told her not to fire you because you'll still need your job, even if they transfer you to Little Rock. When I talked to the lawyer, she said that since you earn more than me, you will pay me child support for several years. She thinks it will be somewhere around $3,000 a month. I know that most cheated husbands refuse to accept this. They are so macho, but this won't happen to me. I'm planning to take some time off from work and go on a long fishing vacation to deal with my pain. As the song goes, deep sea señorita fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't quite understand why the lawyer needed your photograph. She said it was to give it to her father. Maybe it was so she could pass it on to all the officers in case they wanted to start any harassment. Or maybe it was to see if any of them still wanted to date you. But anyway, I gave her a photo that clearly shows your deep-throating skills. I also sent a copy of the video to your mom and dad and all your colleagues. How could you be so cruel to me, Evan? Oh dear, I wasn't cruel. I just wanted to let everyone know who your new beau is. All your Facebook friends seemed happy for you. At this point, Audrey barely reacted. She just sat on the floor in her sheet, sobbing, shaking her head and muttering, "This can't happen to me." "Okay, honey, it's time for you to get dressed and pack your bag. Your parents should be here to pick you up soon." I pushed her towards the stairs so she could get dressed. "Take me?" "Well, of course, you'll need a place to stay for the night. They told me that you could stay with them for a while. The house will have to be sold as part of the divorce," I said after her. "Divorce? You seem to have a few questions, my dear." "This surprises me. What do you think should happen when I find out?" "Well, I really didn't think you'd get caught. Are we gonna continue this pointless conversation?" It became quiet upstairs for a few minutes. She didn't make a sound, except for the occasional wheeze and sob. Why do cheaters always cry when they get caught? This is the most terrible thing. If being caught is so unpleasant, then, for God's sake, don't cheat. About 10 minutes later, she came downstairs, dressed, but without a suitcase. "Evan, honey, we really..." Just at that moment, I heard her parents' car drive up to our house. "Goodbye, Audrey." As always, a gentleman, I held the door open for her. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.